Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. I am Muhammad Anwarul Islam Abir and my co-host Muhammad Rajibul Polash. On behalf of the moderator of the session, Professor Dr. Muhammad Zahidul Islam, would like to welcome you all to the workshop of 2021 Third International Conference on Sustainable Technologies for Industry 4.0. In this session, we'll have 2 hours and 45 minutes for presentation and around 15 minutes for discussion. We will give you a reminder 5 minutes earlier. Before starting the session, we would like to introduce our esteemed session chair. With us, we have Professor Dr. Muhammad Samsul Arifin sir from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Chittagong University of Engineering and Technology. May I now hand over the session to our Honorable Professor Dr. Muhammad Samsul Arifin sir to conduct the session. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So it's my pleasure actually to chairing this session. So without any further delay, I am going to say some words about our keynote speaker of this very important workshop. So Professor Dr. Atiqur Rahman Ahad, I think we all are well aware about Professor Atiq Ahad. So he is a professor, University of Dhaka, especially appointed associate professor, Osaka University. He studied at the University of Dhaka, University of New South Wales, and Kyushu Institute of Technology. He has more than 10 books published by Springer, very well-known reputed publisher. Some of these on IoT sensor-based activity recognition, motion history images for action recognition and understanding, computer vision and action recognition. So he is an expert in the field of actually activity recognition. He has more than 200 journals, conference papers, and book chapters. Actually, we are very much happy to say that Professor Ahad has more than 130 keynote invited talks. Actually, it's outstanding. Then more than 40 awards recognition. He is an editorial board member of very well-reputed Nature journal, that is Scientific Reports. He is also associate editor of Frontiers in Computer Science, editor of International Journals of Effective Engineering, editor-in-chief IJCVSP. So then there are many other affiliation activities and how can I say, actually many social and for the activities for our new students, actually young researchers. So I hope this workshop will be very much helpful. Without any further delay, Professor Dr. Atiqur Rahman Ahad, it's your time. Thank you, Professor Ahad.
Thank you very much. Too much praise, so I need to drink something, otherwise I feel nervous. Thank you. It's a great pleasure, and I cordially thank the organizer for this really very good academic conference, international conference on sustainable technologies for industry 4.0. Today's workshop will be interactive. So I request all the participants who are, at the venue at this moment, as well as outside. So if you're at the venue, you can also log into the Zoom so that some questions you can answer. So I will present something and then refer some points so that you can just discuss. So don't hesitate to make comments and add points. Without any interactions, it will not be that good for me to continue because it's an online event. So as you notice, my name is Muhammad Atiqur Rahman Ahad. This topic is about various healthcare challenges based on IoT sensors and video data. My website is here, so if you want to explore more of my works, you can visit. But it's not that much important. So at this moment, I'm at Osaka University. It's in Japan, definitely, you understand. And this is Sakura, but only for a few days or maybe 1 week. not like our Krishnachura in Bangladesh or Indian area. So this is Dhaka University. Definitely, Karjan Hall is very well known, and other buildings. And this is definitely, if you are from Dhaka University, or if you, if you visited Dhaka University. So these Karjan halls inside this room, as a student, and nobody likes it, but as a faculty member, we don't mind to explore this lovely building. So it's a very beautiful exam hall, and exams are not good for anybody, but we will have exams. So the main sources of this presentation today are based on my works and some of my books, and you can find one by one. So we will provide certificates only to the most interactive participants. So only few of them, a few of you will get a special certificate signed by the organizers and by me, for example. But you must be interactive. It doesn't matter whether it is correct or incorrect. Most important thing is that I will raise some questions in between. So you have to interact by chat or like voice. So and I request the Anwar Islam Abi and others moderators to track down, just like Tali, that who is the person name, and based on how many questions and something like this, so that later on we can provide some genuine certificates for those who are genuinely active in the presentation or this workshop. So most interactive participants. So it can be all of you, or maybe only one or two. So let's see. I wish that we have more interaction so that we can learn from each other, especially for younger minds. Never hesitate on a questions or comments, because nothing is silly. Most of the silly ideas once upon a time became and are becoming excellent thinking and ideas in the world. So don't feel that your thinking and ideas are odd, or looks very weird. Of course, you will think sincerely. So then I move to the next slide, that this section, presentation will cover human action or activity and gait and behavior or other attitudes for different healthcare applications, like different diseases, or maybe possibility to explore different diseases. Normally we go to doctor, and definitely doctors find problems, and then they offer solutions. For video based and IoT sensor based different kinds of applications are progressing enormously. I will show you some, that how much money you can earn, and I can earn if I am really sincere and crazy about it, through different applications on healthcare, so that we can support doctors as well as the patients. And most of the time, we don't become a patient if we are already taking care of ourselves through different applications. So I will cover some basics and applications, and some, to do some research, we need data sets. So some of the data sets, but then we'll explore some challenges ahead. And I will highlight some of my recent works, which are basically highlighting healthcare applications. And finally, we'll conclude and give some guidance, especially for young researchers. So it is, wonderful to be here. And once again, I thank the organizer, and I visited 2019, yeah. Last year, definitely, I would like to visit, but COVID came, and this year as well, it's very difficult to travel. I love the Green University of Bangladesh in the Purvachal area, wonderful campus, and especially Didan, the Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and the Pro Vice Chancellor. They were, so lovely and wonderful that I still recall that time. And great.
VC sir also present in this session. He is also
Thank
present.
you so much. Yeah, I really recall his very encouraging words, that he praised about something about me, and I felt very happy and motivated, because good words are always, positive for people to move further. And I hope that I'll visit your university once again in person, and we can do much more good works together. And I really appreciate Professor Abdul Razzaq for his enormous efforts and committed, efforts, in fact, for the development of research and others. And he's not only my elder brother, but also a great leader of Bangladesh in terms of academic development and so on. But anyway, without praising much, these are honest words, but I still not too much is good. Let's go to the next slide. Human activity or behavior can be understood based on different kinds of sensors. Those sensors can be based on environmental sensors, which is like your building or in your room. There are different sensors already inbuilt. So that sensor will guide you or give you some kind of information. For example, sleep bed. If your bed has some kind of sensor-based sleeping monitoring system, or if your sofa or chair has some kind of pressure sensors, and that pressure sensors or sleeping sensors can give you some health health information for health evaluation purposes, then that is extremely important. But definitely it is infrastructure dependent. Like if you sleep at your home, it's okay, but if you visit your friend or in a hotel, you cannot take the your bed there, so you cannot get the update. And sometimes it is expensive as well to inbuilt, and also poor result when there are multiple people in different applications. But most of the developed countries nowadays are suffering from elderly people. Huge amount of elderly population. It's not only, I have some slides. It's not only in Japan or Korea or New Zealand or Finland. It's everywhere. Even in developed countries, we can see. And also in developing countries like Bangladesh or India, we are also having similar kind of problems little by little, because many parents, or sometimes they become single because one of them are no more in this world. Kids, one or two, they are leaving this country for higher studies or further exploration, just like 30, 50, 70 years before, rural areas people came to Dhaka city and something like this. And now we are moving out from Bangladesh to another country, and it's very difficult to monitor parents or single parent. This is very difficult. So how to handle these kind of things? So there are researches going on, especially in developed world, very serious, especially in my lab at Osaka University. There's a confidential, but I'll discuss, and you can also share some of the points that how can we monitor elderly people at home, so that when there is abnormal things, we can find a solution and take care of them. It happened in the past. I read those news many times in different countries, that unfortunately someone lived alone and the dog ate her, because she became sick and nobody could, give food. And then what happened, that nobody knew until there was a bad smell. It happened in, Australia. Now I'm talking about maybe 15, 70 years ago, the news came. So on that time, it was abnormally difficult to think that, we can have infrastructure, mobile-based systems or sensor-based system, environmental sensor-based systems or video-based systems to monitor someone. And when there is nothing, then we can get the information. For example, if I live alone, and normally I communicate with my family members at least once per day. But if I do not get any, nobody can get my information for 1 day or 2 days, what to do? And if I live alone and they must visit my home to know the information, but if there are some other sensor-based information from where some abnormal things somebody can understand, then it is very important and they can help. Something like this. For example, if I have a stroke and I'm on the bed for 17, 18 hours. So if there is a sensors in the room and those sensors are connected to give different kinds of information, and those informations are giving me an overall idea that I'm active, I'm alive, and I'm moving from one room to another. If I have no problem, then I'm not on the bed for 10 hours or 15 hours. I must leave the bed. I must go to the toilet once or twice per day, or go to the kitchen, something like this. So this kind of movement. So it's not impossible. Already my Osaka University, our lab, we have developed a good number of prototypes, and last few weeks, some 75 plus elderly people are coming in Japan. I mean, people don't die quickly, so they live longer. So 75 is not a big age. I don't think that by the age of 75, I will be maybe minus 10 or 20 and die. So the point is that it is possible, but we need relentless efforts. So I hope that some of you will start this kind of research based on our resources and our realities. Next one is video-based applications. There are many cameras. Some of us, we discuss about privacy issues, but you see that, I mean, privacy issues are important, but sometimes regarding healthcare, uh, I mean, life is more important. That's why in China, for security purpose, you will find that almost all the country, I mean, entire country is under, I mean, a video-based monitoring, of course, outside. But if we stay in I mean, a hospital, which is open, or if we stay in an elderly support system center. So on that case, I mean, except that toilets or, I mean, bedroom, you can have, I mean, video-based system. And we can see that, I mean, nowadays, almost everywhere in the, I mean, urban areas, we have surveillance cameras or video cameras, but those cameras are just recording data. Can we get real-time or almost real-time extracted information from the video data so that we can really know who the persons are and who is responsible for any action or whether there is any problem or not? So, I mean, it is important, of course, but the video has a big problem, that outdoor performance, because actually, I mean, if my light is on, that's why you see that I have some, I mean, skin color. But if there is no light or less light, then I'll be darker. Okay, so it is natural that if there are enough light, so enough information, and less information if it is darker. And from normal RGB or I mean video cameras, we cannot get enough information if that it is darker and so on. So outdoor performance is poor, evening or night information we cannot get unless we use another kind of cameras and so on. So, and privacy, of course, important, especially indoors. So what happened that at Osaka University, when my student started this work for elderly support system, initially we started video, the RGB data collection and skeleton data collection. I have lots of slides on that as well at the end, and some sensors. Then initially they said that, oh, video, we cannot allow it because I mean, people will not accept it. Then what happened after several years of research and discussions and so on? Now they agree that, okay, we will explore the video, but we will not store the video of the person. Video camera will give the data and automatically will extract some information, and that information will be preserved for further analysis, but not the video. So that is fine. So some sort of, I mean, mechanisms we need to find. Otherwise, it's very difficult because people won't like anything that, I mean, hamper the privacy. My mother, we wanted to put, I mean, a surveillance camera, and so that we can, I mean, discuss with her and know that whether she is okay or not. But she said that no, she will not allow any cameras inside the room because she inside the even dining place, because she feels that, I mean, it's against her privacy. So another point is that wearable sensor based, which is more widely used nowadays, like we have watches, we have different kinds of patches on the body, different kinds of wearable sensors are used and for many applications. But of course, if the patient is severe, the patient has discomfort. But you see that, I mean, even though the patient has discomfort, we need sometimes some sensors, maybe not very tight, very loosely bound, but still sensors are important, or maybe on the wrist or on the chest or waist or, I mean, knees or somewhere, because wearable sensors are very cheap, and from basic accelerometer data, we can get lots of information. And another point is that I mentioned that again, with NEC and one rehabilitation hospital, one of my group projects, I mean, we worked on that. We wanted, actually, I advised for having wearable sensors, but they say that no, we cannot because patients feel discomfort. So we just take a video camera, but no video, only skeleton data like body, joint points. Those points will be considered for further analysis. Now, what happened that if you have one kind of data, sometimes it can be noisy. It can be, it may not be sufficient. And so if we have another modality like sensor data, wearable sensor data, then combining two kinds of data, we can get better results. So, but we could not make it because the agreement finally were based on without any on-body sensors. But in future, we need to consider that different kinds of on-body sensors as well as video sensors or at least skeleton sensors can be useful to understand different kind of applications, especially for hospital patients or rehabilitation patients and so on. So with that background, let me move to this slide that, I mean, this is RGB video data, where we know RGB very well. And this is skeleton data. You can see that different body joint points. You can get the skeleton data from uh, mm, Kinect-based sensors. And nowadays we have Azure cameras, so Azure sensors. Not so much expensive, like 300, 400 US dollars. A university should buy a good number of them and engage. Like if you buy 10 of those and explore with students, students will find lots of different applications and amazing, interesting results based on those. Or motion capture data, that is another point. Or if you have GPUs, then from image, you can use open pose algorithm and get the skeleton body joint point. But as you notice here, body joint points aspect ratio, see the leg is like a plastic man, it becomes longer. So, and the hand is, see, suddenly it becomes longer. So it means that the skeleton body joint points are not accurate. So only skeleton based information will not be enough. Yes, sometimes some data is enough if you have applications that where you don't need very little information change and based on this any decision. But if you need to know a very little information change, then skeleton is not good, as you can notice here. Another one is depth image, you can see here, but skeleton and depth, unless you go for open pose, or those are indoor, as I know, all are indoor based. So what happens that, if you go outdoor, you cannot extract data. But again, people say, and we say that as we are considering healthcare applications, so patients or subjects are within home, so or in the hospital, so we don't need to worry about changing of illumination or lighting changes. So don't worry that much. You see the leg, oh my god, it's a really absurd and abnormal, but this is the reality. And with that reality, we have to work out and to find better solutions, how to manage the outliers and noises and so on. Then, if you go for a smartphone, regarding, sensor based, we know that my smartphone is very poor smartphone. Very weak one. So this smartphone has still accelerometer, gyroscope, compass, GPS, light sensors, sometimes barometer, and other different kinds of inherent sensors. Those sensors we can explore for different applications. And apart from mobile phones, which is, there is no security issue usually, ubiquitous use and comfort is there. Monitoring outside home, always you carry the phone, that's fine. You can get battery efficient usually, because once you put the battery, whole day, 1 day, 2 day, it's not a big problem unless you, keep the internet and always browse and call, then if it's an issue. And CPU technology in a normal mobile phone is so fast and so good, so you can do lots of internal manipulations with the data. Apart from that, we have many different IoT sensors for, say, body position sensors or snore sensors, like temperature sensors is not a problem, EMG or ECG sensors and others. So those sensors can be explored for different kinds of applications. So that is another point. Applications, healthcare is the most highlighting point, especially due to COVID. Nowadays, we become more dependent on video data or remote data from sensors and others. Why? Because unless you are really sick, you don't go to the hospital. Last 2 years, I waited, for 1.5 years, not to go to the hospital for one problem. And I told my mother not to go, but then unfortunately she got COVID and seriously ill, and luckily she survived and so on. But it means that we are worried about a hospital nowadays, because we worry that if we go to the hospital, we may catch COVID and maybe more vulnerable. And it is true. So can we have, at least for some cases, some kind of remote monitoring of healthcare? The answer is yes. Now the point is that whether it will be expensive or not, it depends where you build, how much you build, whether your marketing policy is good or not. Now, surveillance is another important applications. Man-machine interactions, wonderful, robotics, etc. But developing countries, healthcare will be the number one, because our surveillance or robotics and this kind of applications are still, I mean, a bit far from the reality, because we still don't have the basic infrastructure. Almost all the universities in Bangladesh or India, except a few, I mean, or this kind of countries, I mean, don't have enough infrastructure for having real industry 4.0 situation and so on. But healthcare applications based on video data or IoT sensor data are relatively easier by using machine learning, because you don't need enough amount of data, and you are not basically solving a problem. You are just trying to produce some kind of guidance and a sort of evaluations, so that based on the evaluations you can decide to go to a doctor, or a doctor can remotely monitor your conditions and decide that, okay, you must come to the hospital now, and so on. So it's like a grading system. It's not like, it's not like marking system that you got that, 78 or 79 or 80 out of you. It's like it's CGPA, like you got A or A minus or B minus, something like this. For healthcare applications, we have to deal like that, whether your problem is severe or medium or mild, or average, or say normal, something like this. So we will see, and there are lots of scopes for research based on video and sensors. Video surveillance, I mentioned, hospital, rehabilitation center, smart house. We need huge amount of applications nowadays. You can include autism as well, because last year or earlier of this year, I read a news on CNN or BBC or alike, that many parents are struggling for children with autism, because usually they were supposed to go to the school. Because of COVID, they cannot, or they're thinking not to send. So what happens that parents are struggling to support them properly at home. Same for rehabilitation cases. So it's very, very difficult. And if we don't develop solutions based on your custom, your reality, then we cannot find solutions. So that's why sports video analysis and understanding actions and behaviors by robot, these are also important, but not for the developing countries that much. Detecting fall down, predicting fall before I fall is also important. Like, I fall down, then you detect. This is also important. You can say that why we need to worry about. I just mentioned that, 5 years ago, I had a meeting private meeting with a hospital, Kyushu University Hospital, one of the largest hospitals in Japan, a couple of doctors and a few other researchers. And I was surprised to know that the hospital patients, they fall down per year by a good number. That means that you go to the hospital to be better, but you are falling down somehow. Maybe, head is moving. The world is, just like circling around, or you have pain, you have imbalanced body. Sometimes I have, and then you fall down. And when you fall down, you are, in much more difficult situations or challenges. In hospital, there are doctors and nurses. It's easier relatively. But what about you are at home? You are in the toilet, you're in the kitchen, and suddenly you fall down. You are alone and nobody's there to take care. So that is also important. So we need to know, whether someone is falling down. So if that is happening, you can easily call the doctor, or somebody can come and help. It happened for my mother once that, we had to break the door to find her out and take her to the hospital. So it's not so easy. If we were late, maybe by the time she would have much more severe problem. Number two is that it's very difficult, but can we predict before I fall down? At Dhaka University, I mean, 5 years ago, I mean, fall down at Karjan Hall in the evening. I mean, I was feeling just like today. I don't know why I was feeling, maybe because of this stress of this workshop, that I'm feeling that I'm not that good. I'm dizzy a bit. So suddenly I fall down in the campus, and then I had to go to the hospital and so on. So if I have some symptoms earlier, and if I have some sensors, mobile phone or Fitbit or others, who is collecting data regularly, and based on those regular data, if the system or data collection based on machine learning algorithms find that I have some problems today, and it's getting not good, not good, not good. So it can alarm me, give me something that, oh, Ahad, you are in a vulnerable situation, or your pressure is high, your blood pressure is high, your heartbeat is high or low, for example. So if I low, I can drink or enjoy Coca-Cola, or I can do any kind of, I mean, sweet meats and so on. If not, then I have to take another thing. Those who have diabetes, you know that, I mean, they have two different things, that, I mean, too low sugar and too high sugar, two different things. Based on these, the situations are different. So if we have sensors that can measure this kind of things automatically every day, and data, based on the data, it can give you some warning. That is very important. It's not so easy, but not difficult at all, but need consistent and longer period research on a specific topic. And that research should not be like in many developing countries, people do. For example, Bangladesh is and India developing in terms of technology. I mean, money is not the key. Like many Middle Eastern countries are extremely rich, but technologically extremely poor. I mean, knowledge-based technology. I mean, I don't mean that. I mean, you buy product, you buy robots and said, oh, we have robots. No, this is not the thing. Can you build a robot, or can you make something extraordinary from your research? So we are poor. We are not strong, unfortunately. Now, whenever we build a dot, there are lots of noise around, especially media, takes, and so on. Sometimes even very weak works are getting, I mean, lots of encouraging words or praising and so on. These kind of things we should stop. Why? We need to know what is the reality. When we know the genuine standard, then we can judge people, we can judge a work, and based on these we can go further. So this is important, that we genuinely do some good work, and I hope that participants here will try to take some of those, only one target, do it for 2 or 3 years consistently, spend some money, few lakhs taka, or I mean 1 million or half a million taka, or something like this, or I mean is not a big amount of money for many people nowadays for to involve in research. Activity sensor based, we know that daily access monitoring. You see that, I mean, lots of companies, they make these different devices, and they make huge money by using very simple device. But they did research, even though those are not accurate, but still we use those. I have one, I used it, but last 6 months I'm not using. Yeah, this is the point. Another one is patient monitoring outside the hospital. So it means that remote patient monitoring, which is called RPM. I'll explore a bit more, because there are lots of money in the, here you can need to collect. Fall detection, I mentioned, especially sensor-based fall detection or prediction. And especially it can be targeted. Remember, no solution is for everybody. Just like, I mean, a medicine for infant is not same for the kids, not for adult, not for the elderly people. So it means that never think that a solution you find and it will cover everybody. Only thing is that if you are very naive and very simple and very good person, you can make everyone happy by just, I mean, throwing your smile. That's it. Still, I mean, some people find that your smile is not so good, but it doesn't matter. Elderly people, dementia, injured persons, this is very important. And you can target just for elderly people. You can target just for people with dementia or injured persons, and then see whether you can work on fall detection or prediction. So, and if you find something good, maybe you are helping your parents or elderly people, or you are helping your own future. Like if I can make something good, a good device like fall detection or something, when I'll be elderly, or unfortunately if I may have dementia or injury, then definitely it will help me. I'll use my device so that I don't get in trouble, and so on. Not easy, but we need to try. Elderly care in case of emergencies, another one. Remote monitoring of pregnant women, for example, which is extremely important because half of the population in the world are women, and many of them, we know that many women in the world, they suffer a lot during pregnancy, even die because of pregnancy related complications. And I have two kids. Both of them are very small. Those who are closer, they know that they love the world so much that they wanted to be in the world very quickly. So they came, very quickly, and hence they were very small. So I felt at that time that how much it is important to find some solutions so that we can help a mother and expecting mother and so on. And it is important. So there are lots of areas where we can just think about sensors for some solutions. We cannot solve everything, just like a medicine cannot solve all the diseases. Of course, if you are extremely poor and go to the rural areas, and whatever problems you get, a paracetamols or maybe I don't know, other medicines and so on. So whatever you have a problem, just take it, just to survive. In reality, we need specific problem-oriented solutions, and it's not difficult. At least we can progress little bit, but need a profound solutions. Now, I mentioned about remote patient monitoring. It's an innovative use of digital technology to track health status to improve health outcomes. So you see that, RPM, or remote patient monitoring, like I'm at home, not in the hospital. Now you want to monitor something. I'm you'll be surprised that we go to the toilet, right? Okay, we go to the toilet, and nowadays we have high command. Now you can think that what the hell, there is a relationship with, remote patient monitoring and command. Now, if you comment, I'm not talking whimsically. I attended a talk from IMEC. IMEC is from Belgium. One of the largest European research institute, Belgium or whatever, I forgot, because we have a collaboration with our Osaka University, Sanken, and that institute. So every year, just a few weeks ago, we had another, program together. It's like 2 or 3 days, presentations and so on. So when there were no COVID, 3 years before they came, and the keynote had a project they mentioned that in the toilet pan, like come on, we go to the toilet, now we pee or we stool, and there are sensors that collects the, quality of the stool and the quality of the, pee, that whether I have sugar problems, whether my stool has something which is dangerous or not good, or blood and whatever. You see that, these kind of things are, going on, and you will find it in the market after a few years, probably, because they are very serious, and they are doing, and for this. So it's not about only machine learning or sensing, it's about material science as well. It's about economics and social issues as well, because everything is related when you make a good product and try to find a solutions. Of course, doctors are involved immensely in this kind of research. Now you think that, how can I monitor this? For example, I have a problem which is related to, stool and blood and so on. Now, if I have a commode like this, and it has a sensor like this that can, extract, because if sometimes we can see the blood, and sometimes we cannot see the blood, because there are two types. Blood is, inside, and that it's mixed with the stool, and you cannot visualize outside from the blood, and you become, dangerous. And millions of people are affected in the world by colon cancer, including my youngest brother. Unfortunately, he's in Japan, and he has been suffering for a year, for colon cancer and so on. But anyway, so the point is that it's not a matter of joke. We need solutions from where we can find something. So you see that this kind of research, if somebody can make, and effectively it is supporting the doctors and give some kind of data, then it will have huge impact in the global community. So I'm talking about, remote health patient monitoring, where lots of new ideas can come and find a solution. So, you need to think. So that's why I mention always that young minds always think new things, which may seem initially weird, but at the end, it's a reality. Okay. So RPM technology improves patient outcomes because if I go to the hospital, basically, whether you pay or not, actually, we are using money from the government. If I am strong and I don't go to the hospital, basically, I am contributing to the economy and the country. I'm a patriotic person for the country by just being a healthy person. So the global RPM systems market will be worth over 1.7 billion, and so on. So it's a very interesting thing that a huge amount of dollars are knocking at your door. We need to find different solutions, maybe for developed countries, for developing countries, and if, always don't think for the poor people to find solutions. First, find a solution, then see whether the solution for effective for any part of the community, even if it is for rich people, no problem, let them use this. And then if you can make it, first point is that it is good and smart and reasonably accurate. Then you think about low cost, because if we think about everything low cost and low quality, and then nobody can use it. Like in Bangladesh, I have seen for the last 10 years, many wheelchair related research activities. And unfortunately, all are very immature. So far, what I have seen, definitely they are good, but I don't know at this moment. So if you have, you can share with me after the workshop and we can discuss further. But if I use that, one plastic chair and consider that that plastic chair will be considered as a wheelchair, it will not work. If I need a wheelchair, which will support many different things, and it can automatically help me within the home and for different applications, even if it costs, several $100, I may buy it. Even $1,000, if I really need, I can buy instead of a car. I need this one because it is important. I saw it in Saga University. No, it's not Saga. Saitama University, next to Tokyo. It's a big university, and Professor Kuno, he's a big professor, just retired a couple of years ago. So, and he used to take lots of Bangladeshi students, including Professor Mushiul Haq and others, I think, from his lab, and Professor Mahmoud from Jahangir University also was his student. So that lab, they developed a wheelchair that can be, he showed me the wheelchair and how it works and so on, some demo when he invited me in his lab. And then I found that they are working for the wheelchair so that it will be 100% accurate, not making any accident, and it can be useful for the, public transportation, public bus, that, I can use it for the public bus and so on. So that, and definitely it will be extremely expensive because the technologies and everything, but there'll be customers for that. And then when you make it perfect, then you consider make it lower cost and lower cost and lower cost, or some kind of charity things, and then you find that more people can be happy to have it, and it will be more useful. So remote patient monitoring, always don't think. In Bangladesh, we have a concept that make it low cost, but low cost is not the most important thing. It is important, but everything cheap is not good. Okay, so we know that talk is cheap. Moreover, for example, I'm now talking, it's very easy to talk, because even if I'm talking, but I have nothing to earn from this, $1.7 billion so far. I wish I can get some from that, so that I can enjoy to do more work. Now, according to a report, Insider Intelligence, that 30 million US patients will use RPM tools by just after within 2-3 years. So it's increasing, and remote patient monitoring is the wave of the future, according to this article. But it's not so easy, because it must be trustworthy. Of course, trustworthiness, it has a level. We trust each other, but that doesn't mean that we trust, 100%. Okay, and so on. Trustworthy means that up to a level, so the doctors can feel it, the policymakers can feel it, that it is it can be useful, it can be usable, and so on. The global arena, customers can use it. Someone who want to invest, they can feel it, and so on. Now, it is related to telehealth, telemedicine, mobile health, e-health, and so on. And because of COVID-19, or for dementia and fall detection, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease patients, even at home, diabetics, congestive heart failure cases, telemedicine in prison systems. Think about that we know every year that some people die in the prison. People say that police tortured them and they died. Yes, sometimes they torture, that's true. We have still the brutal system, all over the world, to get their, words and so on. But if you are tortured, or if you are underestimated, because for me, like if a police comes to me, I without torture, I will die because of heart failure and so on. So we need some kind of system so that, we can remotely, without taking the person to the hospital and so on, monitor and so on. Because sometimes we take people to the prison, and prisoners are not in good health. So how to deal it? Keep him or her in the hospital fully, and most of the world, unless it's very developed, prisons are, really a prison. It's not a healthy place, to enjoy life and so on. Okay, except a very few places in the Europe and so on. I don't know in Japan, and I don't want to know about this as well. Anyway, next point is that monitoring and supporting for autism, extremely important, especially COVID-19 or this kind of cases. Alzheimer patients, pregnant cases, rehabilitation patients. Next to my, just opposite to my building, every morning, one car comes, she lives alone, she use wheelchair, and the car takes her to the, elderly support system, and they have some rehabilitation exercises and so on. And then in the evening, they drop to the home, and she lives alone and so on. See the scenario that, is it possible for every country to afford? Or even if in Japan, all the patients can have or rehabilitation cases, where people can afford it, even if the insurance company, government insurance are there and it's free? The answer is no, because we do not have enough doctors or therapists and facilities, but we are living longer. And because of different lifestyle, different of my laptop and mobile phone and so on, we don't have enough exercises. We are not that much stronger than the past, probably. And because of, industrializations, pollutions are there, stress are there. So we are having much more future trouble, and the numbers are increasing and increasing. We need remote monitoring and supporting systems. If we can work sincerely, then we can have, I can request the organizers and other universities, if you are a big guy, at least, who, have the abilities, just plan for some kind of remote patient monitoring systems to develop. Spend money for 2-3 years and work for that. Maybe you will find some wonderful ideas from the younger minds and find a solution. And if any of you engage something, you can discuss with me. I'll try to share a little bit more based on my expertise, whatever I have. Actually, I have almost nothing, so but still I can give some information based on my knowledge. So the basic structure of sensor-based human activity recognition, you can say that we have sensor data, then we do noise filtering, do some kind of pre-processing sometimes, and segmentation. Feature extraction is very important, because if we can extract the best features, then, then we can have better output. So this is important, and then we try to classify. So this is a basic, few steps, but this pre-processing can be most important in some cases. Sometimes the data is too much noisy. Remember, when we take a data set, the data set from the internet or whatever, those are usually like our human being before marriage relationship, that everything is smooth and lovely and sweet, no error, no outlier, no noise, everything is cool and calm, very romantic data set. But in real life, data set is not romantic. Why? Because maybe my mobile phone has been used for 2 years and dropped many times from the hand. So its sensors are not performing well. Or maybe it is low quality, or another maybe the battery is low, so automatically network cannot be connected. The strength is not so high, so data cannot be transferred properly, or many other things. So the data can be noisy. Most of the cases we take data sets when everything is simple, but we can have a situation where there are lots of noise. Like for example, if you consider now I'm speaking, and this is almost noiseless data because there is no car and so on. But if I stayed in, I had a meeting, and I was in Kyoto city, and I ran from there because I must speak for longer periods. So if I stay in a shopping center or coffee shop and give a lecture for a longer period like this, then everybody will kick me out from the shopping center. So, but I wanted to stay outside and at some point, because if I cannot, make time. So what happened that over there will be much more realistic noises and so on. So noises are important in life because it gives us real picture of data. But most of the data sets are noise free and they are very good looking. And then we start working. So when you work, that's fine. You find a new solution based on the existing data sets. But when you find a good result, don't feel happy instantly, then try to add some more noises, realistic noises, and then see what results are. And based on this, you try to find the solutions and so on. So pre-processing steps are very important, and getting smart features. So now I will give some examples of some of my works, but beforehand, like X feature means like from the data, what information I would like to extract, which information is important, how to get the data. There are lots of methods because basically this is a time series data. Time is passing, you are collecting data. So time series data, from time series data, how to get the information, video or audio or sensor data or skeleton data and so on. So you need to know what are the best solutions so far. Will you use deep learning based methods, or will you consider the classical handcrafted features or different kinds of methods? There are lots of different methods, but to know which one is more appropriate, you must not be like me, who is, very naive to know the best methods or and so on. So if you study mathematics very well, and if you think about the signal's inherent nature, what is the signal? Basically, it's a video, but actually, what is this actually, and what are the signal patterns? If you understand this and you know some signal processing techniques, not just by name or by using mathematically, you know that what happens when you use this and what are the outputs, and can it extract the most information, like from milk. If you want to get a ghee, then what is most important part here? Okay, that's the most important thing. So try to consider, it's not so easy. That's why you need lots of brainstorming, lots of discussions, lots of trial and error based on authentic mathematical knowledge, not noise. Okay. Unfortunately, in Bangladesh, including Buet, Dhaka University, and other universities, our mathematics are extremely poor, we the teachers also don't engage too much on mathematical side, because if someone engages too much on mathematics, students don't understand too much, so they feel that it's very difficult. They are not happy with the teachers and so on. But I feel that we try to emphasize more on mathematics in Bangladesh and other developing countries, so that we can understand the physical meaning of something, and based on this we find solution, not just trial and error. Try this method, oh, it's not giving good results, so forget about this. Try another one, try another one. This trial and error, we can continue and continue, but we cannot produce genuine output in the long run. So for especially for younger researchers, this is very, very important. And I hope that our new generation can, be much, much smarter than, at least from me. Another point is that, accelerometer or gyroscope or magnetometer, as I mentioned, pre-processing, feature extraction, and then we go for different classifiers. Now, I see lots of papers in different conferences. Unfortunately, what we do, we just try some features and get the features and then classify. So support vector machine and another one, or decision tree and so on. And we say that, oh, support vector machine gave the best results. This is not good. If you try different classifiers, somebody will give better than another one based on the data or based on the features. But what are the main or core contributions here? This is important. And why the hell the results are good or bad? If we cannot understand this and cannot explain this in the presentation or in the paper will be just a paper without any value. Nobody will read it to get some knowledge from here. And if your presentations and then it will be heartbroken that there is nothing. So always remember that in your work you try to find reasons why, how, what, good side and bad sides. Okay, just be as much critical as possible and do some kind of in-depth analysis of your results. If we don't do these kind of things, then the paper will have less value and and it will not improve yourself as well. Yes, I know that if you make too much negative comments about your paper, then some reviewers can feel that, oh, their paper is not good. But I still feel that we encourage more negative points or limitations of the method in the paper, so that even it can be even half page or 1 page, so that future researchers can learn from your paper. If you just use some pre-processing methods, some feature extraction, and then use classifiers, and this, so this is the result. What then a new thing I get from here? It's just a combinations. Okay, that's the most important thing for you, that especially young researchers, that please engage more thinking, thought-provoking information and analysis on your paper or on your research, so that others can learn from your paper, not just good news. Okay, but and also good news should incorporate the reasons why it's a good one. Okay, so these are the most important. I'm drinking this. Now, say it's very tasty, then normal one. Then I can ask why the taste is different or better. If I know the reason, then I can use the same method again and again and always feel the tasty drink. But if I don't know, then maybe another day I try another thing, and never I can find the best solutions for me, or another person cannot find the best solution for me as well. So for recognition, similar strategies for few other cases you can find, that we can have data acquisition, data collection, maybe from sensors or from cameras, or even infrared or RF Wi-Fi or sonar. Then data cleaning or data reduction sometimes, or integration or transformation, some data pre-processing, and go for different kinds of feature extractions and classifications and so on. Now, regarding action hierarchy, we can have like basic action. It is important that sometimes we just need to know the basic action, especially for applications where we just need whether I can raise the hand. For rehabilitation case, for autism, we need to know some basic small few seconds actions, whether somebody can do and so on. For walking pattern or running abilities or jogging or very slow walking, for rehabilitation cases, again, it is also important. Activity like brushing teeth or longer period relatively, or interactions like multiple people are doing something like maybe I am working with another person, or handshaking or hugging or fighting. Fighting is very important point to find, because when two persons are fighting in the world, very unfortunately, every year, many people die because of fighting. In Bangladesh or in America, it doesn't matter. People are dying or severely injured. Now, if you have a video camera and you look at the video camera and then find the information, this is one point, but automatically evaluation, because the video camera can be longer. Where is the information? Do we have enough time to find the original information? So if we find that, oh, there are two persons fighting, or there are two persons, so detection, two or three persons, for example, they are doing something, and then maybe one is killed by two others, and who is more responsible? That guy should be hanged or punished severely. So how can we know? At least AI-based system can help us. Of course, the final decision will be made by the human being to judge, profoundly. But if we can track that part, detect that part, it will help immensely to the community. For example, our lab at Yagi Lab in Osaka University, we have a GATE, human activity, human walking pattern, which is called GATE, based method, which has been used for criminal investigation by the police, by the government. It's not so easy to do, but they build it as one of the cues, not everything. Based on this decision, they did not catch and somebody and punished him or her. It is one of the cues, one of the options they used, and based on these, they make some judgment. So that's why it is important. Sometimes we do something like, why it's important? In Australia, they have cameras that if you drive and use mobile phone, and automatically camera will take photos, and you at home you get a letter of the fine. Now what happened that one woman, she said that she did not use the phone, she just maybe did like this, or maybe do them some, like this. Once upon a time I did many times like this way. I don't know why. Some of my friends joked about me, especially Amina Hassan Ali from CSE Dhaka University. Now he's at IOB. So he told me that when he saw me that I always do like this, and I'm very much fashion error. But actually it was wrong. Maybe it was just my habit, or maybe some kind of teaching. I don't know. So that lady did something, and she said that, no, I did not do. Now the point is that what is the AI behind the scene? That high-speed car, camera, and taking images, and sometimes it's not so easy to get every information, maybe darker, and the camera thought that based on the location, based on the data, it's a false data, of course, false results. So it can happen. So human object is important. Human information, like hugging, handshaking, and fighting multiple persons, and so on. Another one is called activity of daily living, especially for rehabilitation centers, or those people who are living alone. We try to understand.
Professor Atiqur,
Hi.
about 1 hour you are continuously talking. I feel that you need some rest. Could you please hand over the session for 2-3 minutes so that I can share something with the audience?
I just make after a few slides.
Okay.
I have a question, maybe.
If you feel tired, then you can remind me.
Okay, then no problem. Actually, after a few slides, I have some questions. That is a break. So I have 5 breaks like this, so that young audience, especially, they can think about and interactive and so on. So actions and temporal variations. So normally actions means some movement of the body, but you see that sometimes we do yoga or prayer, no motion, but it is an action. For now, if I have accelerometer, no movement, now how can you know that I am just doing something, which is also important? Okay, local motion or global motion, that that everything is moving here, and for a long time there is no movement, or full body motion, or multitasking like mothers can do, and so on. So these are not so easy to do. Okay, so you need to focus on one part, and then based on this you try. Now action is low resolution images is very important, especially for surveillance activities. There are lots of data sets. I mentioned low resolution. Now if you take if you have a surveillance camera from very far, very low resolution, it's very difficult. Why don't we try this kind of research activities, that very far we try to find the different actions, and you see that there are shadows and the removal of shadows, because when you run, your shadows is also running. Okay, because sometimes, so, and it can be on different directions and so on. Basically we get the movement. Yes, deep learning cues can be used, but it's still not so easy if you have a smaller resolution. And here we cut the smaller resolutions here, But in real life, the video surveillance camera will cover the entire scene where the movement has, is little, but there are other movements as well. And surveillance cameras or video cameras are used for security purposes. So these are important things. This is from Cornell University's activity data set, where it is based on depth and skeleton data. As still till now, skeleton data is not easy to do. So data sets, except, a few data sets, all are smaller in number. Two persons interactions, you see that this is the data set. I just give some examples so that you can see the options to do research. Like, see the actions are not so much, and you are kicking someone. In real life, only, Mahatma Gandhi type people will be standing like this. Either you will try to pull the leg and throw him or her out, or you go away from this. Don't allow the person to kick like this way, okay? But it is just a data set which I mentioned that very unrealistic in real life. I mentioned about ADL, activity of daily living, for a longer period, which can be useful for healthcare, rehabilitation, and occupational therapy to understand longer part and so on. This is one example, that cooking breakfast or housework activities or clothes and so on. And egocentric camera is important. By egocentric camera, you mean that the camera, my glass has a camera, and this camera or some another camera or some sensors are collecting data. Based on the data, you can get the information. So from here, you can see that I have a camera here. Now, whatever I'm doing, the camera is collecting the information. So why is it? It is because, I need to know, or the system wants to know what kind of works I have been doing. So these kind of things are important and so on. There are large data sets as well, but you need, for larger data sets, definitely you need what? Huge computational capacity and so on. Not so easy. Skeleton-based data sets are there, I mentioned. And most of the skeleton data sets are smaller and few number of classes. Unrealistic, but this is the reality, that you cannot make, large data sets. There are few only, having 60 different classes and many people, and 120 different classes and many people. Or you can make of your own based on open pose and so on. Motion capture system can be another one, but it is difficult. For healthcare applications, hospital or rehabilitation, we cannot make very large data sets because of privacy issues, and you cannot get the approval from hospital. So one of my groups, we struggled to get only 120 people, rehabilitation genuine patients data, only for several minutes data collection. It took 3 years with collaborations and supports and privacy. Nobody in the world can see the data. Even I cannot take the data at my home. We must work within the university. So it means that real data is scarce and very difficult, but we need real data, because I cannot really act a genuine rehabilitation. I cannot act. Initially, some of my students at Osaka University, they acted like the real patients in front of an expert therapist. But when we collected the real data, I found that those students' data are, really absurd. No way related to this. Yes, partially related, but reality is different. So we need genuine data sets, and we can do it. There are lots of sensor-based data sets, more than 150 and so on. In my book published last year on sensor-based human activity recognition, you can find those, and there are lots of different things. Now, this is thinking cap. So you think, take a break for 5 minutes or a few minutes, and think about what are the missing points so far, and any data sets of different types to make in the future. So I have demonstrated some examples of different kinds of data sets for research. But what do you think regarding healthcare or human activity, sensor-based or video-based or skeleton-based? What new we need to do? What are missing? So you can write down in the chat box and so on. If your name is not clearly mentioned, so you can write your name as well. So I request the session moderators and assistants to note down who are giving and make a tally for this so that we can see. And I will also read some of those. And so I need your advice that what are the missing points so far, any data sets of different times to make in the future. So let's take 5 minutes break and you think and you write. Okay, thank you. If anyone has any comment regarding this, just unmute yourself and feel free to discuss.
Okay, VC sir, you want to say something?
Yes, I would like to
Yes, please.
take this opportunity first.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum Assalam, Professor Atiq. It's so nice to see you again. And I
Thank
was closely observing and listening your presentation. It also reminds me, my wife was a medical doctor. So I have some sensitivity towards health care facilities. So when I was listening, I was carefully trying to understand the way that you are making so huge, and I would say very, very informative and educative presentation that you made. And I realized that there are so many things going on in the field of healthcare services. And the point that you have raised, definitely these are all valid issues that we need to be concerned. So based on your one question that what are the missing points so far, I would not like to mention missing point, but I'd like to share some of my concern about the healthcare facilities that is relevant for developing country like Bangladesh. Particularly, you know that our society is being segmented. We have got so many poor people, and these are basically, many of them are not getting access to the healthcare services. So you have rightly mentioned that we need to develop appropriate technology which are relevant maybe for all people, but at the same time, we need to also do some research so that we can really make it affordable for the poor segment of the society. But the problem is the way the world is moving. I found there is a missing point that they are not really putting poor people in front of them. They are always putting maximizing profit initiative. And so making more money is their motive, is not their motive, how they can really reach to the disadvantaged segment of the society. If you consider Bangladesh context, almost 10% people are disabled people in different, including autism that you already mentioned. But we are not getting appropriate health care facilities for these disabled people in different way. So these are some of the missing points. In terms of conducting research in the healthcare facilities in Bangladesh context, there are few investment that is being made by our government and different institutions. So there are so many things to do in this area. These are some of my concern, but I'm not asking any question, but I feel desperately that, well, the people, those who are really segmented and not remaining in the mainstream of the development, they are really always isolated, and we are not really developing the appropriate technology to reach into them. Thank you once again for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Indeed, I mean, your point, actually, since long, I have a term I use for my research interest. I think in my website, it is also written that technologies for unreached people. It's my mental goal, but I know that it is extremely difficult because all the fund sources and all the companies, for example, the rehabilitation related research, why the data we collected, I mean, collected for more than 3 years and so much efforts and so much difficulties as well, why the data will be very close to the company, those who are funding. Now, the point is that because of the data is closed, nobody can work on that data. So the data, if there is no data of real like this way, then we cannot have better solutions by other means. Maybe the company will make big money for some, systems in the future. That will be very expensive. Yes, they can say that, I mean, it is, we invested, but definitely they did not invest too much than the, I mean, product concept and so on. So you know it as an economist, and at this point of view. And also, I also feel the same because how much money they gave us and how much money they will earn if the work is successful. For developing countries and poor people, it's very difficult. But still, if we make the target first for cheap, too cheap, then what happens that the quality will not be ensured. So first goal, that we make it as robust as possible, and then make a marketplace for those who can afford. And based on this, we will try to just compromise something. This is our life. We always compromise. Based on my earning, we, just make our life. So you are a vice chancellor, so you have, you don't have a private jet, but your university, they have a private jet and so on. And I don't have anything, for example. My son has a toy jet, by the way. So, but we make balance based on our reality of life. But your point is spot on, and I think that our young researchers don't forget this important point that, financially struggling community must not be forgotten for any, developmental issues, and they should take the benefits from this as well. And I hope that that will be a good point as well. We have, thank you very much. We have,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have one from Tanvir Rahman. He mentioned a chain database of human resource based on biological identity. So this is missing. Would you please explain a little bit more, Mr. Tanvir?
Sir, thank you, sir. A chain database, the problem we are facing, the Professor Golam Chandran Professor that mentioned.
Tanvir, please introduce yourself first before making any comment or question.
Okay, sir. I am Student Tanvir Rahman from Green University of Bangladesh, recently doing a research under the supervision of Professor Dr. Abdul Razak that is based on crowdsourcing, and also it is a work with the human resources. The problem we are facing, and the start that is mentioned, a chain database of human resource, it is basically a data set that will change all the biological linkage and all the interactive communication between the people, that somehow I am related to a huge family tree, but we do not know them at all. Sometimes after one generation later, we even cannot identify them, even don't know their name. But it can be happen that some people of our family tree can have a huge amount of monetary asset that can help in my work or in my research or in my business, whatever we can say. And sometimes we are seeing that in our country, especially the poor countries, the law sector, huge amount of cases are regarding the proper distribution of family assets. That's the reason. And in the business sector, people are not investing much. That is because they are not sure that if someone give me a $1 million, they want to be assured that they can make their money back. So if we have a chain database based on, let's say, the most significant form, that is the DNA database. If we can make a chain DNA database, then we can make sure that if I cannot give them money, all the people family tree connected with me, they can assure them. In fact, if we are able to make such a database, then this country, like let's say Bangladesh, it won't be a country of the 15 crore, 17 crore of people. It will be a country of one person who has 17 crores of brain, 17 multiplied by 2 hands. Just imagine the power of that database. That is actually the theme of the chain database. I know it's a very tough thing, but I hope that we'll be able to find that after 20 or 30 years in future.
Anyway, thank you very much. So I expected more comments on the chat box that what are the missing points so far, or any data sets of different types to make in the future. So we got one, and our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir mentioned one very important point, but I think that others should comment as well, so that we can make more interactions. At least feel free to write. Okay, consider that this is a Facebook page where you just comment.
Professor Atiq, I put one message. Have you got that?
Oh, you put a message, but this is only for me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Professor Abdul Razzaq, he mentioned, should I read it?
Yes. No,
Okay. Okay.
it's not
So,
confidential.
okay. All right. So you mentioned that sensors that can be swallowed and investigate internal operation or organization of organs might be of high interest for many. Definitely, it is true, but definitely at the same time, it's very difficult. But the young researchers and students, you must comment and write. Otherwise, I mean, it will be very difficult to discuss further. Okay. Now I move to this. So what are missing in terms of data set, especially what I mentioned, like night or darker areas? Can we make a significantly important data set based on IR cameras or from far distance? There are few definitely for surveillance and others, but can we make like this way? Abnormal activities understanding in cluttered outdoor scene. There are few, but not enough good data sets. Okay. So especially for fighting or just security related issues, abnormal activities or fall down in hospitals, elderly people, it's very difficult. Now, can anyone tell me how can I make a data set of fall down related to hospital or elderly people? Anyone? Okay. Now the point is that when we make data sets, basically we engage our students to do the actions. But for fall down, uh, students, they feel happy to jump because we made a data set at Dhaka University, and my students they fall down and they had pain, and it was okay because they. But do you think that I can tell my mother, Ma, you are elderly person, we are helping you for the future, that's why we need a data set, so jump? It's not possible. So what are the realistic ways so that we can make fall down data sets, abnormal activities data sets in hospitals or elderly people support system in a realistic manner? So one option is considering YouTube data from different funny fall down activities or movie scenes or something. We can really cut and consider that as one of the data sources. There can be some others. So I give this, and if anyone is interested, we can discuss further because this is very important. There are very few, realistic data sets in this regard. The action data set along with face and emotion is a very important because sometimes emotion is very important. Remember, when we make a comment in chat box, sometimes just because of Facebook or other social media chatting, people have, distances because we cannot see the facial information, because sometimes we can say very bad word with a smiling face to a friend. But when we write, you cannot see the smile. Even if you write an emoji, but you other person may not feel or understand the purpose of emoji. Or maybe it's a wrong emoji. You wanted to make a joke, but you send something different. So what happens that misunderstanding, fighting among each other, and make a distance. So that's why it is important that we make data sets which is related to face and emotion, because emotion is important. Why it's important? Another example. When we wanted to collect the rehabilitation data, we had an issue regarding pain, because pain is a part. Now, say my hand is, problem. So I raise the hand like this way and I can do it automatically. Doctors can see my eyes and change of bruise, eyebrows and other things, and feel that whether I'm in pain or not. But from the video, you may not understand that whether I am in pain or not. Yes, there are methods from facial action unit and so on. So it is very important that we consider emotion and emotional cues, especially for elderly support system, and extremely important for autism related research activities, because till now autism is not well understood and emotions and others. So it is important that we do research on face and emotions and so on. Luckily, few of my research groups are working on this direction. Very little success because we are still naive, but we are working on that. Another is very important. We cannot do anything still now, that how brain works and things. Can we, correlate and make some data sets? Yes, somebody will say that EEG is important and so on, but still we need to see and work on that. Action data sets in rehabilitation and nursing home. I mentioned privacy issue for video and for sensor attached to one person, multimodality. When you make a data set like these difficult things, always consider to make a data set where multiple modalities, multiple sensors, multiple motion data you can collect, like video or skeleton and different kinds of sensors. If you can do it, what will happen that you can try each sensor and the data to understand the person's activities, and then you can mix one data and another data and see what happens and what happens and what happens. Through that manner, you may find a better solution. Sometimes we ignore something, but that can give you very good spice or vibe in the research. And of course, sports activities for automatic evaluation and so on. Now, I mentioned challenges, few cases, like it is very difficult to understand collective activities, like whether some people is standing or just moving around or fighting, or in a situation which is very difficult. So this is one. Another one is mass crowd, normal versus abnormal activities. You see that people are normally moving and normally moving, no problem whatsoever. But what happens when there is a violence or people are running randomly? Normally on the street, people don't run. You see that walking versus running, that gives you something. Motion is very abrupt, and here fighting and so on. So in many situations, we need to understand automatically whether there is, like, see that there are lots of surveillance cameras. Police cannot check everything. If there is this starting of something abnormal, and if your intelligent camera or your camera collecting data and behind the scene it is processing your algorithm and saying that, oh, there is a fighting in that corner, go and help, so automatically people can go and see. So this is very, very important research area. So what happened that University of Minnesota, they started artificial data sets and try to do something. They are not so much. Another one is that difficult to recognize from far localized action, like very far, and it varies from different people who do the same thing differently. So it's not so easy. Another important part is variability, like view invariance. So if you look at an action from one direction, and if you see from another direction, it will give you different information. Remember, human being, we are extremely smart, so we can understand. But your camera is not smart because your camera is collecting data. Okay, but your algorithm should be smarter than, at least not, not better than you till now, but it can try to understand if the directions are there. So view invariance, like the actions from different things should be understood. Execution rate, deep learning, huge data we are using, and some of you definitely you know that sometimes you need few days, hours after hours of running and trying. But in real life, you may need very quick output, real time or pseudo real time. So it's not so easy, and you need to find some solutions as well. Anthropometry, which means the size, height, dress effect, genders of the actors. Like, when we do different actions, like, like, for example, walking, I'll show you gait, walking pattern. Now, if I wear shari or lungi, can you see my leg even? You cannot see my leg properly. So if you cannot see my leg, how can you understand my walking pattern? And based on this, you can recognize that I am a male or female, or I am, Mr. Atiq, or I am Professor Arifin or Professor Rajak, and so on, because it's very difficult if you cannot see the leg information. So that's why, these are, realistic challenges as well. Real time, I mentioned, is a difficult. We may need prior information, modeling and data sets. where GPU cannot be available everywhere, especially if you consider that an edge device based or some IoT sensor based solution, and you cannot have GPUs. Somebody can say that, oh, nowadays many mobile phone has a GPUs and so on, but still that is not enough. If you consider real personal computer based GPUs, this is number one. Another one is that if you make a system based on very high computing facilities, then you may not have a solution for, I mean, poor people, or I mean, normal people, because that will be more expensive. So expensive in terms of time and in terms of money. And another point is that if you want to solve more classes, more different, I mean, problems again, and adding, it will be slower because of data sets and processing. Sensor-based approaches can be explored wherever applicable, because sensor data and video data are different. What is video data? You take a video, just one frame means so many pixel information, right? Nowadays, if I my poor mobile phone, if I take a photo, it takes 1 or 2 megabyte and so on. But if I take the sensor data, basically per moment, it gives just the location of X, Y, and Z, three values. If I consider gyroscope, then it gives another three. So I get 6 numbers only instead of huge amount of millions of numbers and so on. So sensor-based approaches can give you, I mean, whenever applicable, because it cannot be used for every application. And basically sensor-based, especially wearable sensor-based, are considered for one person is specific, not multiple people and so on. So illumination variation problem, I mentioned that lighting is important, and depth image map bad in outdoor. So skeleton based approaches cannot be suitable for outdoor, because skeleton, if you have Kinect sensors or Azure sensors, you will find that when you take data, depth image, even within the room or under constant lighting condition, only 5 meters, 4 or 5 meters is good. Afterwards, it's too noisy. So we cannot use it outdoor till now in a significant level. But on that case, sensor-based approach is excellent, because sensor, unless it is light sensor, okay, if it is not light sensor, then illumination invariant and accelerometer gyroscope, it doesn't care about whether there is light or not. Okay, so you need to consider and so on. Varieties of data sets, various methods are analyzed with various data sets, difficult to rationalize the methods and their performances. Low resolution and poor quality video recognition is difficult. For example, here, if you have a low resolution image, see here that resolution is reducing, you are getting less number of pixels, and at some point you get like this. So the same person's information here, you get this. So from here you can see, oh, I can recognize this action. But if you need the gripping point, or if you need like handshaking or very close information, then you may not get enough information and so on. So it is important point. As a poor quality video suffers as well. Occlusions are also, I mean, very difficult to recognize and so on. Now I give another 1 minute break. Any more challenges ahead? I mentioned a number of challenges. Any more challenges you think? Anyone? Quickly. Or any comment in the chat box? I can see that our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir wrote some of the points, so you can always read those points. But okay, no more challenges from you. Okay, let's see some of the challenges and applications in different domains. Like we can have applications for gait analysis, like walking gait disorder. I'll show one more. Gesture analysis, like hand movement and gestures. Emotion analysis is important. Running patterns is important. Fall down prediction is important. Facial expression analysis is important. Okay, so these are very, very important for this. Aging society is extremely important for the world. We are having more rehabilitation centers. Why? Because aged people are increasing, less younger people to support them. You can consider that, I mean, Bangladesh is a better place because we have, but there is a prediction that after 30 or 40 years, Bangladesh will have another struggle in terms of population and younger generation and so on. So smart house concept is important. In Japan, for example, there were, but just 3 years before, almost 30%, 28.4% who are 65 plus. In Bangladesh, many people, or India, many people think that, oh, 65, people will die. But 65 in Japan is nothing, okay? Uh, and by 2040, it will be a huge number. In China also and other countries. So what are the solutions? Solutions, not so easy, but one of the solutions is to make more automation, establish rehabilitation centers, and go on. See, nursing home. This is a nursing home data set where, like, you all are, elderly people or rehabilitation cases. You see that wheelchairs and so on. Now you are eating something, your spoon fall down on the floor. So you try to catch it. There is something problem. So these kind of things are very difficult to understand and help. And there are not enough people to support more elder, people. So what you need, that you need, surveillance-based solutions and so on. So these are, another point. Next is emotion. I mentioned that, emotion is important. Especially, we need to know the intentions. Conditions are important, and so on. So sometimes, these are important. So emotion-based human behavior, based on the context, we need data set. Multimodality is important. I mentioned that most papers, they use only visual, RGB, or depth, or only skeleton, or only sensor database action. Actually, we started a conference called international conference on ABC. Some of you have attended. Activity and behavior computing. We wanted to, bridge the community, that vision-based activity recognition group and sensor-based activity recognition group to work together. And this year we organized it, long panel discussions based on, about, 7 or 8 top professors all over the world to discuss about the things. And we found that it's not so easy. But if it is not so easy, then we have the challenge to take that part and try to find some solutions. Multimodality is one of the options, like consider wearable sensors, depth map, skeleton data, or object recognition if we need, or facial information action units, especially if it is related to emotions or psychology, especially for autism and other cases. Background is also important, because if I run with a knife versus if I run with a rose, these are two different contexts. Okay, so we need to understand the context and background as well. So we found that, it's not so easy and so on. For example, I just give that age estimation. You can say why we need it to estimate the age. Yes, it is important. You don't see my face and you can say, oh, Sal looks younger. Oh no, considering last year he looks older. This is your perception. But for many different applications, especially in marketing, shopping centers, they need the age estimation and gender estimation, whether you are male or female. Why? So that they can put you the appropriate advertisements so that you can buy. So for example, I am taking stairs and I can see the advertisements of some clothes. If I am an old elderly person, so maybe they will show me some kind of medicines or maybe some cane and so on. But if I look younger, maybe they will give me some, attractive things and so on. So that's the different thing. So this is one. And there are other applications as well. Now we have applications for the face age estimation. Another one is gait, walking pattern, and then understand the age. Do we have a combined effort, face and age together, so that people can understand age better, estimate that at least not exact age, but the range, that, oh, you are maybe between 30 to 40, you are between 20 to 25, something like that. So this is not done yet. What is going on, going to happen soon based on the previous information? What action do we expect next based on the present understanding? These are very important. And when there are multiple people, who is important? Like if 4 people are, beating one person, then who is the main criminal? Can we get it? automatically from video analysis, because sometimes human being, by looking at eyes, because of angles and other things, we may not get the appropriate information. So video analysis can be helpful. But anyway, I'm talking about fighting because criminal investigations, people use video data or image data by a huge number. We don't know. We just see on sometimes on movie that, I mean, people are looking at the screens and so on, but things are not so easy and so on. For prediction, radar detection, sensor-based approach can be useful because from the previous data, you can know that what, I mean, the system can know that what is my normal range and what is my abnormal range. If it is abnormal, then it can give me a warning. So I can my fall prediction can be, generated ahead of any kind of genuine fall and so on. More list of challenges, like, I mean, if the environment is difficult, camera motions are there, low quality data, weather is variables. For example, in winter, when we drive in the rural areas, we sometimes feel that we can't see even after a few meters, and accidents are going on one after another because of foggy weather. This kind of foggy weather is very reality. In summertime, if we have, or rainy season, if we have rainy season and heavy rain, that we also cannot see, and the visualization of car, if you consider, not so good. Now, intelligent transport system or whatever system you want to make, it is extremely important to know. Now, say if I wear a mask, and then we know it very well that one of the challenges of masking is that foggy glasses. Now, if we have this kind of things, and sometimes you must work, can you still get better data? Can you extract better information or so on? So these are very, very important. So absence of light or darker regions or far places or depth and illumination variation, occlusions. These are various realistic issues we need to explore. Actions with various objects, intentions, multimodality, as I mentioned, shadow, high computational cost, we need to reduce. Real-time situations, it is very difficult. Indoor, okay, better. Outdoor, data are difficult, and healthcare related data are more difficult. So, and sometimes we have data missing data. I'll show that one of our works, data missing, and it is also very difficult. So, any other challenges left? I wish that the participants are more interactive, because so far only our Honorable Vice Chancellor interacted more. So he should get a certificate, but it's not required for him. But you guys, you need to interact more. So any more challenges left? If not, anything related to healthcare applications that we need to explore, or anything related to technologically developing regions like Bangladesh or India, what can we do? I hope to get some discussions. Only me talking is not good. I need to learn from you as well, because your perspective, different points will be insightful than what I am talking. So let's take, 2 minutes break, and just type on the chat or just unmute yourself and talk.
Sir, can I talk a little bit, though I am not a part of this conference, but I
No, of course,
find
why
your
not?
link.
Yeah, welcome. You are from Germany, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, welcome. So please share.
Yeah, I would like to share maybe a challenge related to the data protections law in Germany. If you open the camera inside your house, in that case, maybe there are some private information that can be leaked or that can be used by your methods. So in this area, maybe as Europe's and some other countries are focusing on the responsible AI or ethical AI kind of things, that how the machines will use our data. Maybe it can be video or any other data. So I think to look after the elderly peoples in context of healthcare. So how could he challenge? How could he manage the challenges of using obeying the data protections law like GDPR?
Oh, thank you very much, Shadala sir. Nice to meet you again. Uh,
No, sir,
uh,
I'm a student.
no, no, no.
You can
Now the
let me
point is
just.
that this is a very important point. I mentioned earlier a bit regarding our strategy in Osaka University for elderly support system. Initially, video cameras have been considered no, totally. But then we discussed and lots of proceedings, and of course, legal issues are there without a doubt. And Japan is extremely strict, you know, that compared to other countries, especially data protection. I mean, you will find many data sets open source from America, from European countries, but from Japan, you will find very, very low because of their privacy issues are extremely, strict. Now, the point is that here you are using RGB cameras, but it is making in such a manner that RGB data will not be stored. From that cameras or sensors will basically consider the depth image, or even depth image will not be stored, but skeleton data. Now the skeleton data is also privacy prone, because from the skeleton
Yeah.
movement, one can say that this is a pseudo, image. It's not proper, but still it can give the identity. This is true, but still for some kind of analysis, we need to make some kind of agreements, or something like that. So this is going on. So there is a point, but of course, ethical AI and data protection, these are extremely important. So we cannot consider important applications related to healthcare where video data will be considered. That's why I have slides more on skeleton data, and I will try to emphasize on skeleton data as well. But when you get the skeleton data for Kinect sensors or Azure sensors nowadays, only for research purpose, you also get the video data. Now the point is that for pain, emotion from the skeleton, so far zero work. It is not possible. Now we need the face,
Exactly.
we need the nodding. Now you see, I can understand that you are happy, you are agreeing, you smiling. Now this is because of the muscle movement and others. We know that facial
Exactly.
action coding systems are used for this purpose. So this is extremely important point you raised, and I think that we need to study and go through further on ethical AI and data protection law, especially in the UGC conference, which just we organized, a couple of, 10 days ago. There was a talk by Professor Matthew Turk, IEEE fellow and the president of Toyota Technological Institute at Chicago, big guy, and face recognition. He is one of the guru and is in the world. So, but his entire presentation was the privacy and the genuine biasness and so on of face recognition and so on. And Facebook, he mentioned, I was surprised that Facebook must pay 650 roughly million US dollar to some people because they violated the face recognition related, lawsuits or something. So it's not a small thing. So we must
Yes,
take
sir.
care. Yeah, we must take care. So this is very, very important point. So thank you so much for your wonderful point. And I hope that others feel free to write comment, whatever, if you have no comment, then I'll feel that my 3 hours and the preparation prior to that are wasted, because there is no audience who are genuinely listening and giving some additional point. So please, uh, mm, I mean, uh, mm, just give comments, add some points like what are the technologically developing regions like Bangladesh or India can think about research activities, which areas should be considered, okay, and how to handle the financial part as well as technological accuracy, how to make the balance. Are we doing that? So far in the last, because I have been trying always to attend all the conferences or as much as possible, especially related sessions one after another, I find that our works are not at all considering these kind of things. We are just considering to submit a paper, get it published. But yes, this is good. This is a starting point, but we cannot leave on the same starting point always. Okay, we must go the next level, next level, next level to go up. Sometimes we jump too much. Sometimes we stay on the same level for a moment, but not always, not every year. Okay, So we, myself and others, most of us in the past, we did that. But nowadays, new generation must not do the same mistakes we did. Okay, that's the main point. So please, I mean, give comments and find more ideas. No comment is silly. Okay. So if you write a comment that, okay, these kind of applications can be very useful to find or to recognize who really loves me more. These can be a wonderful applications. Maybe many young people will follow this one. Okay. So don't worry about that. Now, let me give some kind of applications and examples based on this. Number one is cooking activity recognition challenge. It was organized last year in Japan in a conference, activity and behavior computing. Now, why we need to know cooking activity challenge? Because cooking is very important for cognitive health and living. And for elderly people, again, it is related to healthcare. Nobody is considering cooking activity recognition, but it is important for nutrition of elderly and to remind any missing step, for example. And it is really imbalanced data, and there are small actions, there are longer actions like making salads and or sandwich making, but it has multiple steps. So those are important things. So they, with the Kyushu Institute of Technology, they in the smart life care unit, they developed a data set, and based on these data set, I mean, you can, I mean, they had a challenge to recognize different activities and so on. And another one is nurse care activity recognition challenge. Last year and this year at the #1 conference on ACM UBCOM, luckily some of my teams from the Department of Tripoli Dhaka University, we participated and very happy and delighted to have some awards over there. But the point is that why do we need nurse care activity to understand? Because nurses, especially this time, doctors and nurses are extremely overwhelmed because of too much COVID patients and so on. If we do not, I mean, study their activities and support them, find which actions can be reduced by technological involvement, which actions we need really human being as a nurse, and which who is working better, who is working less. These kind of assessments are also can be done. So again, in Japan, they developed a data set for 48 days by 49 participants and so on, and in the lab as well as in the field, means in the hospital. And based on this, that they made it, but definitely real life data is difficult because in the lab it was very easy, but when in the motion capture system, data collection and so on, but in the hospital it was very difficult because there are lots of missing data, huge class imbalance problem. Class imbalance means
Sir, can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
Sir, is it a sensor data or video or image data?
Thank you. It's a sensor data as well as mobile application based data. In the lab, they also used motion capture data, but in the hospital, you cannot have motion capture data. And the video or image are not considered. And again, because of privacy, it cannot be considered definitely. And now the huge class imbalance problem because nurses do some action so much. Similar, just like our home, we cannot have kachi biryani at home every day. Okay, unless you are, I mean, extremely weak in mind, that, I mean, just like some Mughals, I heard that he said that in a famine, that biryani ki jote na, that means people cannot even eat biryani, something like that. So, but in real life, like if you say what you eat in 1 year, maybe kachi biryani or kebab only few times in your life, but rice and dal and vegetables and fish many times and so on. So class imbalance problem is some actions are done many times, maybe 80–90% of the cases are few actions, some are very less. So now here comes the I mean trouble, that when we consider feature extraction, machine learning, if there is a huge class imbalance problem, we cannot solve unless we know genuine mathematics or statistics, how to deal these kind of huge class imbalance problems in real life. So here, mathematics is important. So if we don't know mathematics, engage our mathematics department, teachers, and students who are good at math, then discuss with them. Let's try to find solutions, okay? Because this is a huge problem. the class imbalance problems in machine learning and so on. So it's not only, I mean, computer vision problem, sensor problem, it's a problem of mathematics and machine learning. And machine learning is nothing but mathematics, for example, and statistics in another sense. Very short duration of some activities. This is important. Human error and so on. So real life data is very difficult, but they did it. They made it. I mean, and huge collaborations and so on. And our team, we got winner and second, third. Luckily, this year it was, I mean, amazing year to get award, and we got lots of award. So this is the point. Number one. Number two is gait recognition in occlusion. I mentioned gait means walking pattern. How we walk is called gait. Gait is one kind of biometrics like iris or face or fingerprint. These are biometrics that by which we can understand whether the person is Ahad or Shajalal or Palash and so on. Another one is that from my walking pattern, it is possible to know who the person is up to 11, not accurate, of course, like iris or fingerprint. Uh, mm, Even face is not accurate. We know that, especially for Black people or us, face recognition in the world is not accurate. And that's why there are lots of, lawsuits and problems. And some Black people are, taken to the prisons, considering that he was the another person and so on. So many false cases. People say that it's intentional sometimes it's like, misuse of technology, or the technology is not, unbiased. So biasness in technology is also important. It's not only poor versus rich, it's also about, race and color and gender and so on. Unfortunately, racism is real in many sectors in life, but we must find solutions technologically and emotionally to solve racism, from all sort of racism. Okay, healthcare, medical rehabilitation is also important. So gait recognition is difficult because clothing, I mentioned lungi and shari issue, view angle, carried object, and occlusions, because when we have occlusions, we cannot see. So what happened, this is my student Masood in Japan. Well, so he helped to just for this purpose as well. I'm not sure whether this is my car or not, but anyway, so you see the different kinds of occlusions. You cannot even see his legs, so, and or partially the information. Now if you cannot see the leg part or partially, or full body, then how can you find a solution? So what happened that Dr. Jashimuddin from Roque University, he worked in our lab and he did excellent research in our lab in Osaka University during his PhD, and published some wonderful papers. So this is one of the works that he developed a method to reconstruct missing parts. And what happened that there is no large data set. So what is the solution? We cannot make a large data set in day, but our lab, we have very large data sets. What he did, that he added 30%, 40%, 50% different degrees of occlusions for a silhouette against the full area, and make different kinds of patterns. For example, occlusions partially, or upper or lower, or different angles, different ratios, and different directions, random, and so on. So you see that different kinds of occlusions are there. Based on this, he developed a method. So the point is that if you do not have data, or very difficult, they do not have difficult or challenging data, create artificially at the beginning, but you should have a target to make a realistic data set. Then you must run on the different experimental settings and compare with different methods, so that you can prove your method. Most of the cases we find that experimental settings are very easy, and you just give a result, but no comparative analysis with other methods. Remember, I find it again and again in Bangladesh and India as well, that you make a comparative analysis table, but the table results, each row is, each row has a data percentage, but that was run on different data sets. So how can you compare this? You cannot compare the giraffe and monkey and fish, that how they perform on something, okay, something like that. So it is important that when you say comparative analysis, it means that it must be on the same data set by different methods, and show which method gives what results. if you have a new data set, you run your method and try to get the code of other methods, or you implement the other methods and run and show the results, not changing the support vector machine or decision tree